Hey there, it's Professor Demersion. I wanted to show you how to work with multi-channel video in this tutorial. So I'm going to start with where we want to end up so you can see what the main idea is. What I've set up here is in the program monitor. You can see here's my hand and I'm about to hit this 3D model. I'll show you how I got that in. And this is the left side, this is the middle, the center, and this is the right here of the Guggenheim building. And so far we've only been dealing with one channel of video. When you're doing your comedy sketches, it's just one channel. What we're going to create here is three synchronized sets of video that are going to be played on each projector. So one projector is going to be pointed in this direction, and it's going to play this video full screen. This one is going to be full screen in the center, and this will be full screen to the right. I've set up this composition with this type of nesting that I'm going to show you how to do, so you can see will these all work together? Is the timing working? And that's what we're really focusing on for this particular sequence here. So let me just play this. Let me just go into the timeline. So there's the hit, and it shifts over there, and there's the smack, and I'll show you how I did that last little part. So this is a slightly different size than these two, this image, so don't worry about that. We're actually going to get rid of the image of the building and put instead white as a background there. So the idea is, and then we're going to be masking out in the Mad Mapper program these arches and the windows and things like that. So the idea is that the white of the background will match the white of the building. So that's the basic kind of flow. You don't want to put the image of the building on the building itself. I mean, you could do something like that, but this is how we're going to approach it, like that. So let me show you how this works, and we'll go from there. So the very first thing to do is to create one composition. You always want to, when you're working with this green screen stuff, once you've started to work in your green screen, it will automatically adapt to whatever sequence size that you've set up. So if you're at 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720, all your ones should be that way. So let's take a quick look at something that I'm working with here, and that is, let me just show you this. So this is the sphere that I'm using. I got this online when I googled PNG, Portable Network Graphics. So I said sphere PNG, and let me show you what that looks like. Here's Photoshop. When you go online and you want to look for, the reason why I chose PNG, here's that word right there, that extension, is because those are types of files that retain their transparency. And so I know that I can bring them into Adobe Premiere, and I won't have to worry about knocking out any kind of background like that. And so that's this is the image that I just pulled offline to get this thing that's flying around here. You totally don't have to do this. This was just one example of what you could do in order to make three screens happen. Okay, so your thing is going to be totally different. You can have people dancing all over the place, and any of the different videos that we've shot, grab any different images or items like this, and you're totally fine. So so basically, let me just show you how quickly basically I did this. So what I did was, when I looked at this hand, and when the finger, I'm going to go one forward frame at a time. Okay, so what I saw is once that finger starts to go forward like that, I made that be my point here. I'm going to go into the effects. Now I'm working on the sphere, and you can see how what I've done is I've shrunk the scale down of that sphere. It's usually much bigger, and I've changed the position to be right here when this starts, and I've set a keyframe, just clicking on that, or you could click on this, to say start in this location. And then when you get off screen here, I'm going to go over to this point. Basically, this is where I want it to stop. And so when I get to that point, that's going to be the last one, and then I want it to disappear because it's going to then go to the center one and be taken over there. So I made a start and stop point. When you're working with keyframes, you don't want to put 1,000 keyframes in here because it makes it look really jagged. Typically what you want to do is give it a start and stop point. We can talk about ease in and ease out. Might not be the right thing for this because it's going to go across all of those. But this is the basic idea. Look at the x coordinate here. It's 221, and when it gets over to that one, it's 1,000. And I just wound that up to find out, okay, when does it go off screen and what time do I want it to go off screen? And once again, this is set to 25%. So that's just a quick example of how I want you to think about using these motion and keyframes with this. One quick thing as we look at the, so the center nest is really not much of anything. It's just the ball flying by. Once again, it's that same, I'm going to click on that, and you can see the same thing. The start one is, it's 35, it's off screen, and I coupled this up. I should have showed you this before. It's at 0% here, opacity. I'm going to go 1 frame forward, and that makes it kind of come to life. You can see it's a little bit off here, but because it's going, 24 frames a second, your eye can't really catch that when it's flying. Then we go to the keyframe, and it's off the screen. I'm going to go 1 more frame forward. So look at this here. These are so big you can barely see it, but you can see it here. So that's 1 frame. It's at 100%, and then I go 1 more and I make it 0, so it disappears. And then the position is just start far left and then far right. Okay. Then the last one, it's kind of, okay, I called it right nest. And here, let's, okay, this is what I wanted to show you. I have some images. Oops. This is an image that I created in processing. It's a computer program that we're using for the for another class, the responsive media class. So we created that with writing a computer program, and just you could mouse click and it creates this thing. You can see how, of course, what I've done is use that same kind of ultra key that we've used to wipe out the key here. And I've made the same kind of thing happen where, okay, it's off screen now. Let's go back over here. So this is off screen now. You're going to see it coming on screen, and when it gets to that location, that's when I bring in the painting stuff. And then I zero out 1 more frame, and this is going to go from 100 to 0, okay, with this keyframe. Okay, so that's the just a quick little composition with using across 3 different video screens is how I want you to think about this piece. It's a cool thing to know how to do to synchronize 3 projectors, and we'll show you how to synchronize the projectors next week in class. So then what you do, here's the fun part. And this kind of information is going to be on the next quiz, which will be on our final day or the last on the 30th. So how do you make this thing here where you could see all 3 of these at the same time? Okay, and the trickier thing is, how do you shrink this down? Because there's let's say this is the left one here, and when we look at the left, you got 3 layers of video. How do you shrink all 3 of these down to 33%, which is what this is? It's 1/3 of the full screen. How am I doing that so I can see all 3 of these synchronized together? Okay, here's the trick. Here, what you want to do is you select all of those, and then you right-click, and as you can see from the text, I'm going to make this thing called a nest. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to call it left nest 4, just something that I haven't used before. So there you go. that's how and then the cool thing is, then when you bring this into, here's left nest, when you bring it into a new, so basically what we're doing is we're treating sequences like video clips. That's one of the key points of this tutorial. We're treating sequences like video clips. Once it's nested, I can collectively take all three of those elements, the image back here, the hand, and the sphere, shrink them all down at the same size, which I've done. So basically, once that's done, then you can treat these like they're a clip and scale it down to 33% and then move it off to the left. Now, just so you know, we're doing this part here just to see, is the timing working out? We're getting the timing of this ball across all three of these. Once we get the timing down, then we're going to eliminate the backgrounds, turn them to white, and just make sure our timing is working. And that's really why we're looking at this point here. We're just going to make sure it's kind of traveling roughly the right speed for us. And what we're doing for this Thursday is we're just going to get a rough draft. If it's not perfect, don't sweat it. We're going to see what's working on the, as you know, in this whole setup here. We're going to make notes on Thursday night and then make little adjustments to get this perfect for the 2 weeks from a week from this Thursday. Okay, so now once you've done that, you've created these three nests, you've shrunk them down, you've positioned them using our positions here, this one's over there, and you've got it where you like it. What you want to do is then duplicate that master and then duplicate each of your nests. And once again, of course, you know, let me just get rid of this. I'll give you these painting things, by the way. What you want to do here is, you can see I've made all my sequences. I have the C nest to the left nest, and then I duplicated that just by right-clicking it, duplicate, and then say make one that's called the same name left nest for export. And then what you do there is you replace the image. I got rid of the image here because it's a duplicate. I could do that and it doesn't affect how the master 2 looks here. We're using just the regular one. This is just a duplicate that I can then go back, make sure everything's full screen now, because I wanted to export it 1280 by 720 or full screen. Okay? To do this, how did you get that white thing there? I just go to new item down here right by the trash can, click this, and then choose color matte. This is what I'm operating on my sequence, this width, and I'm going to say square pixels here. I really should say 24 frames, but it's not going to be a deal breaker. It's just an image what you're making. And then I click down here in the timeline to get the white. Basically, I chose white because that's the color of the building, and it's going to be something that's not going to really show up. And I'm going to just say, basically, just as a side note, pure white, 255, 255, 255, and this is the pure white. You call it anything you want, whitey, bulger, and then it's made here. My other one's called white color. That's the one I'm using right now, but I just wanted you to see how I made it. Okay. The most important thing as you're constructing these, so this is the left nest, here's the center nest, and this is the important thing that I want you to see, is it's all about the timing when we're working with these triptychs. That this sphere is going to start to happen at 120, 1 second and 20 frames. You can see that's where it jumps in. I got that timing by looking at when does it kind of cut through here, 121. So on my center nest, I wanted to make sure 121 is where the that started. The sphere is actually starting. Put your audio, if you have audio for your thing, on the center on the center projector. I'll run all of the audio from the center projector. Okay, just as an FYI, maybe we'll really, this is something that I would only put this on the right channel, this one where it splats, to really make it accentuate the left-right aspect of this, and we could put like an effect on this so it pans from left to right. Those are the kind of things we'll do for next week. I think that'll be cool. Then you just export this. You go Command M, and then you see there's my flying ball, the whole sequence. Everything should be timed out. We're going to be using H.264 720 23.976. That's 24 frames a second. This is where you can put the name. You can call this one here like center. You want to do your name, your initials, AD, center, green screen center. Check out how I asked you to do it in the tutorial. I mean in the Word doc. Okay, I'm not going to press that, but that's how you do that. Okay, and then you just say export once you have that. That's it. So the key things are, make sure you're only exporting out with white. Okay, then also make sure your timing is matching up for how you want this stuff to go, and use the sound effects from the place that I've showed you in the assignment, and have fun with it. That's the most important thing, is just play around. The other one, that's the non-green screen, is much easier. You don't really have to time out so much of the stuff. You could just have, also take a note that this whole thing is only 12 seconds long. So it's not like I'm asking you to do a 17-minute long epic thing. Just a little 10-second long, 12-second long piece that explores all three different panels in a kind of joint composition where they're all working together. Okay? Email me if you have a question, as always.